first impression was this is a little bit more difficult to do things and to get around than what we'd seen before in Europe. Firstly, because the alphabet was different. There was no English signs anywhere. We had no maps. We had to sort things out ourselves. And the language was something that we just didn't understand completely. But having a in-tourist guide was good. It made it a lot easier for us. You had to be very careful where you went and also what you said. That which made it fairly interesting. That was very different, and it felt oppressive. And we can talk about that later, because once we got out of the Soviet, we had maybe 12 days here. Once you got out of the Soviet, you just felt so free and relieved, because there wasn't that pressure on you all the time that you were being watched or that you couldn't do things. Interesting question. Many things are the same, and a lot of old memories come back. But what is the obvious things that I notice that have changed? It's a lot more Western. There's a lot more Western goods, Western cars. The standard of living has improved dramatically, and it's hard to comment too much about the people, because we've had a fairly closed touring here and things, but the roads are a lot better. The roads were atrocious. You couldn't drive fast. It was just out of the question. Even in the centre of the city, that was just terrible. And you don't have militia police following you, even though you have an in-tourist guide, which was very good. Maybe our guide is secret police, and she's keeping an eye on us. Categorically, it's still Leningrad to me. I still call it Leningrad, and I just haven't got used to the name of Saint Petersburg. But when I think about it, I will say Saint Petersburg, but it's still Leningrad for me, because that's what I spent most time here. It was Leningrad. And I was fascinated by the story of its naming, and also the story of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, and the story of his ascension to power, and the history there was absolutely fascinating, and it was all tied in with Leningrad. Yes, my first observations are not necessarily in sequence of importance. You don't see as many poor people wandering around the streets as there was before, because people are generally dressed a lot better. Of particular importance is that they all have reasonably good shoes now. They never did that, and they do seem a little bit happier. They used to be a little bit sort of. They looked unhappy. Well, they didn't have any reason to smile. So that's it. I'd like to spend a bit more time out there and go to a bar occasionally and talk to a few people, but probably won't get that opportunity. But just generally, everybody seems to be a lot happier and a little bit better off. And the housing is better. I think the life is better. The cars are modern cars. I think that's really good, because when I was here last time, they had nothing but old larders, and they were always breaking down everywhere. Yes, categorically. We were told that there might be security issues, but I feel quite at ease, and I'd be happy walking the streets. I think any trip people are doing to Russia should be researched and based on that person's type of travel needs, because a big bus with 50 other tourists, people may be very happy doing that, but not for us. And this is why we take a small tour, because well, one, we don't like crowds, and two, it's much easier to get a feeling for a place by having a small group and a guide who can help you with that. And also you can see the things that you want to see, rather than what the tourist book says you have to see.